Welcome back, children, to this English class for grade 12, and today we will study about the chapter The Enemy by well-known author and Nobel laureate Pearl S. Buck. Children, today would be an interesting session, I hope, because I hope that today you will be able to inculcate various good things inside you. You would know how to be decisive at critical moments where you are dwindling between two things, and both the things are very important. So children, let's begin with this class, and let's start with the description of the author. So the full name of the author is Pearl Stricker Buck. She was an American writer and novelist. She was born on 26th of June 1892 in Virginia, US. She passed away on 6th of March 1973 at Vermont, US. The best-selling novel. Children, first of all, I would like to tell you about that what is a bestseller. So bestseller is the novel by an author whose sale or MSP, like I say, maximum selling point, is very high, and which is a worldwide accepted novel. So if I talk about bestseller, and whenever you hear this word bestseller, you must conclude that it means something which is world acknowledged. So The Good Earth was the bestseller or the best-selling fiction in US in 1931, and for that she won a Pulitzer Prize in the year 1932. Children, you know the difference between fiction and non-fiction. Let me tell you again. Fiction means which is not true, but there is only assumption, and non-fiction just relates to reality. So children, she was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1932 for the bestseller The Good Earth, and she was awarded Nobel Prize for Literature in 1938 for her rich depiction of peasant life in China. Children, I would like to add up here that Pearl S. Buck spent most of her time, or the maximum part of her life, in China. She was just brought up in the culture of China, means her early years were there in China. So she had a deep impact of Chinese culture on her personality. Okay, so she wrote about the richness of the peasants' life in China, how they struggle, how do they survive, but still the jolliness and happiness is visible on their faces. So for that she was awarded Nobel Prize in Literature. You know, she was the first woman in America to win Nobel Prize for Literature. So first American woman to win Nobel Prize for Literature. On her novels, various movies have also been made, like The Good Earth, Saturn Never Sleeps, China's Sky, Dragon Seed, etc. Children, many more books, bestsellers are there from this author, and I cannot mention it all here. So you must know that she is a world acclaimed author, and what she writes is truly marvelous. The chapter Enemy is, as the name suggests, definitely will be telling you about enemy. But who is an enemy? Whom we want to kill or whom we want to save? Children, you would be surprised when I am saying to you that enemy must be saved, because nobody wants to save an enemy. What's the feeling when you face an enemy? Kill. Otherwise, he will kill you. So, in this chapter, an enemy gets saved. Why? That is the essence of this chapter. If we talk about the theme of this chapter deals with the conflict between man's humane feelings and the prejudices created by nations at war. What is the meaning of the word prejudice? It means forming an opinion about a person without actually knowing him or her. So what happens when you face an enemy? What's the first feeling inside you? To kill. You never think that that enemy would be having a family, that enemy would be having a mother, father, children, relatives. He would be a nice man. But whenever the enemy is in front of enemy, the first feeling is to kill. Someone has rightly said, boundaries are created by calm and soft pen by politicians, but they do scratch human hearts. And when across the border you see, the scene is very dreadful, it's deadly. What all happens in the Pakistan border and what's nowadays happening in China border? Nobody is known about it. But who creates these borders? Politicians. But where do they sit? Inside their AC chambers. And who gets lost in the war? Common man. So this chapter deals with human values, and especially universal human values, which must take precedence over narrow considerations like nationalism. Nationalism in Hindi means Rashtravad. Exactly before me comes my nation, comes my country. I'm nowhere. I'm nobody. What is the first and the last thing? My country. That is the feeling of nationalism. So, human values are important or nationalism is important. In fact, a conflict takes place between these two things, human values or nationalism. Actually, this is the essence of this chapter. And you know, children, if you are asked to save a Pakistani terrorist who is bleeding heavily, going to die, and just by your efforts he could get one chance to live, what would you do? I think now you are confused. Yes, children, confusion must be there, because when confusion is in our brain, it pressurizes us to think. And when we think, then only we are able to distinguish between good and bad. The bond uniting all human beings must transcend the difference between nations. The story condemns racial discrimination and hails superiority of humanity. So this chapter dwells inside the cottage of humanity. Humanity is the first and last feeling conveyed by this chapter, and it overrules racial discrimination. Racial discrimination means some person is white in color, other is black, next one is yellow, other one is brown, because they belong to different races. Here in this chapter, there was racial discrimination, but that was overcome by human feelings, human values. So actually this is the theme of this chapter. Let me a little bit discuss about what's there all in this chapter. In this chapter you will find the protagonist, that is Dr. Sadao and his wife Hannah. So Dr. Sadao is a medical practitioner and he practices medicine in Japan. In Japan he practices medicine, but he had got his education in America. Although he was Japanese, but he had got his education in America. And Americans taught him medicine. After living there for some years and learning medicine there, he came back to Japan and practiced medicine there. He is a well-known doctor. Even the general was, the ultimate praiser of this Dr. Sadao. He was such a good surgeon. One day he and his wife were standing on the balcony as their house was near seashore and there were rocks on the seashore. It was evening time and going to be night sky. They saw a human figure getting up from the rocks and suddenly it fell down. Again they saw the same thing, human figure moving and then fell down. Dr. Sadao and Hannah got confused, and to confirm, Dr. Sadao went there and he was shocked to see an American soldier bleeding, because by his army dress Dr. Sadao recognized him as an American soldier, as war was going on between America and Japan. What to do was the first question in the brain of Dr. Sadao, and he decided that nationalism is nationalism. I am following it since last many years. I will follow it in my near future and for longer duration. But first of all, I am a surgeon, a doctor, and my first duty is to treat this human being. Before being human, before anyone else, this person is a human being. After that, he is American, Japanese, British, Indian or Asian. He brought that soldier home. Hannah was not happy. She was totally against it. But anyhow, they managed to treat the patient. As soon as the servants came to know that the doctor has given shelter to an American soldier, they refused to work for Dr. Sadao and went away. The blood of that patient was washed away by the wife of Dr. Sadao, that is Hannah. And Dr. Sadao started treating that patient. After some time, I don't know how, the general came to know about the American soldier. This thing was curious for Sadao, and he went himself there to the general. As general was a good known person, so general said, okay, an American soldier is there, I will send some assassins. Assassins means killers, to kill that American soldier, and then it would be all fine. Actually, what was it? It was a feeling inside Dr. Sadao, the nationalism, which asked him to report the truth about the American soldier. It was a deadly step. He could be put in jail, he could be put to death, but he was a true nationalist also. So he told everything to general. As general was ill, and only Dr. Sadao was treating that general, and general stopped Sadao from going away in the war because he was treating general. And as he was ill, he forgot to send assassins to kill the American soldier. After some days, the American soldier became all right. Sadao again thought, should I hand him over now to the Japanese police, Japanese army? Against his conscience struck him, and he was not able to take that step. Ultimately, what was the final decision? Dr. Sadao arranged a boat and kept all the essential items in the boat, like torch, food, water, and warm cloths. And he asked American soldier that just nearby there's an island. You row the boat, reach that island, there a Korean ship comes, board that ship and just save yourself. Till here was my duty as a human being. I am doing my duty, but if again I'll see you, I'll directly hand you over to the Japanese army. So the American soldier did the same thing. He took the boat and he rowed it to the island, reached there, taken away by Korean ship, and he was safe. This is a little bit summary about the chapter. There's a struggle in between conscience. Dr. Sadao, gets confronted with two things. What to do? Hand this enemy to the Japanese army or leave him? But ultimately, the humanity wins. And definitely children, We are first of all human beings. Later, we are friends or enemies. And we have to maintain this feeling of humanism inside us. Then only the earth would turn out to be a green planet, not only by planting green plants. Definitely, green plants are more important, but human qualities are also important, and we must put emphasis on human qualities so that this earth becomes a heaven. Otherwise, it is day by day turning into hell. The present scenario best explains this experience. So children, various examples are there. I should not mention it, but I will not name that person. But I have read somewhere that one Bollywood actor has helped the laymen, the workers, to move back to their homes. A step which is self-disastrous also. He could have caught the attack of the virus, but instead of that, he didn't leave his human values. So children, it's not the thing that human values were only there in some particular era like Satyug, Dwapar Yug or Treta Yug. We can have human values here also, but it depends what is our mental setup. So children, that's all in this part of video. I hope you liked it, and for any queries you can just comment in the video or you can WhatsApp me. Next, the explanation of chapter I will do in the next part. Right now, thank you.